House version looked at an opportunity to have a couple of expert lawyers available and thought it was time to overhaul the laws on education, which had some contradictions and some other problems with them that had been brought up. The bill only came to finance because it was just a matter of raising $100,000 to hire the expert to do this. And so it passed the House, and it passed the Finance Committee, it passed the House, went to the Senate. The Senate put all sorts of stuff on it that should have gone to an Education Committee. It made it permanent in law, and it had things which I think are never called for in law, where it says, any other person they think should be added on a commission. That's not good law. That's not good language.
They're not on the commission, they are on an advisory panel, different than the commission.
Either way, it's in law with anybody can be added. I don't like that language. I don't like the Senate version at all. What can you do to change it?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator.
But just point out that it's not permanent. There's a prospective repeal in 2026. So the Senate gave the commission 2 years to do the recodification and then repealed the commission.
And in addition to all that, the RSAs right now clearly state that recodification is the purview of the OLS people, and not, you don't want the fox guarding the henhouse, and that's what your bill did, is it gave money to education, but didn't give anything to OLS, and OLS, according with the existing state law, is supposed to be in charge of recodification. I didn't fight giving the money to education, but I certainly added the money to OLS so that they can hire, hopefully, one of their recent alum, we'll put it that way,
Those were the people we were targeting.
to help. But they should not be reporting to the Department of Ed. They should be reporting to Mr. Alaconis.
Mr. Chairman,
Representative Emmerich.
we had the public hearing on this, as it were, and it started, it was an idea that said, why don't we just identify the areas where there's direct conflict? It wasn't recodify the whole Title 15. It was just, in our committee, we kept hearing little, well, this and this says this and this one says that. That's all we were interested in. And that's Hill's original bill, was just to do minor identification and then have OLS write fixes, as you were. But this guy, it got bigger. I mean, it turned into a whole recodification of the whole thing. So I think the intent, at least in the sponsor's mind and in Division 2, was small fixes, not entire rewrites, just to identify that the glitches that are currently exist. So I think part of it's perspective on what we're trying to do here.
Well, when you actually look at who's on the commission, you've got one senator, you've got 2 House members, you've got the commissioner, and then you've got legislative services.
And Department of Justice.
I'm reading lines
Attorney General.
7 through 11. All right, 1 through 4. And when we get down to B, that starts the advisory panel. And just like anything else, they don't have a vote. They don't, but they should be, named for consistency's sake. And that's what we did. And in 6, the one you object to the most, Chairman, is that, it is the advisory committee who is going to say they are or they aren't part of the advisory. I should say it's going to be the commission that says they do or don't need them. I mean,
Well, actually, it's going to be the legislature.
In
'Cause of-
this, the way it's written,
Well, no, any changes would have to be legislation.
the legislation here gives them the permission. This is line 22 in the Senate version, 6. It says additional individuals or organizations the commission deems relevant to its study.
I've never seen that before in a commission.
But they're not adding them to the commission, they're adding them to this advisory panel, which are not members of the commission.
Representative Heath.
So we know there are a lot of conflicts. Just charter schools in one section can get building aid, in another section they can't get building aid, and I'm sure there are lots of other places. We need somebody to identify the conflicts. I don't think it's a bad idea to have somebody look at what the work that they've done. My preference would be that we come up with a document that ultimately becomes a bill that has to go through the legislature saying these are the changes we're going to make, so that in fact we take the politicalness out of it, and just have a working document that goes into our laws that works for everybody. Because right now it's confusing. Being a former deputy commissioner, working with the law book is not an easy thing to do. And I think Caitlin can attest to why the department came forward and asked for us to do this. I don't have a problem with a group of people working and advise, like a commission, to look at what the work that the attorney is doing. I'd love to see Anthony or somebody like Anthony do this work. But I can't see the commission. It would take forever for the commission. It would be monotonous. It would be like going line by line by line. It would be horrible. I can't even imagine how monotonous that work would be. But if we had somebody first do the work and then have a group of people come together.
Certainly the vision that I had was that between education and the people in OLS, they would come up with the recommendations, and when there was a conflict, like you say, in many places, building aid is one, they can and they can't, they then would go to the commission, and the commission would say, the way we want the new bill that is going to come from this drafted is, and that would come from those commission members, the senator, the 2 House members, the commissioner of ed, and OLS. That was the vision.
You've taken a clean process and made it political. I object.
I disagree.
It appears that way to me. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't read the commission as actually having to do the drafting. It's more they would agree to changes. My notes from the public hearing in the Senate is that this could be a 1,500-page bill to recodify all those sections of statute. It is OLS's responsibility under RSA 17A. It's not an executive branch function, but neither OLS nor education has the resources right now, which is
Especially now.
why we put the $100,000 for each of them for attorneys and gave them an extra year. But I don't read it as these 3 legislators plus the Commissioner of Education and the Director of OLS as sitting around and saying, okay, let's change this word here. I read it as this would be the recommendation of the lawyers with input from the advisory board, and it would be a commission recommending recodification of the statutes, which hasn't been done for like 50 years, like ever.
Yeah.
Okay, long,
Believe me, it needs to
longer
be
than
done.
Lou D'Alessandro has been in the legislature. So I think, Mr. Senator Gray, I think that's why the Senate
Yeah, I,
made the decision it did.
Representative Murray.
Thank you. My understanding was that this is a very tedious job, which one competent person could do. I don't think that there's a lot of back and forth about is this a conflict or not? Either it is or it isn't. And I think we have a lawyer who can put forth to say that. And I didn't envision a lot of back and forth with a commission or an advisory board, but that this person would do the job and submit a report, perhaps, you know, to that commission that when it's done. But it seemed like it would just be back and forth. It'd be the never ending badminton game if we had to keep going back and forth. So I would see this person hired, hopefully, I guess, you know, some people, and I'm sure DOE has people who can go through this, find the issues, and then come back and present it to us. That's kind of how I saw it. And then from there, we would construct bills or do what have to be done. But
I agree. It would be a lengthy submission, and it would probably be start in the Department of the Committee on Education,
Yes.
and they would probably be looking at these things, and some of them they probably brought up through the years. Obviously, the commission, the chairman of education is saying they've got to split the bill up, split the committee up. It's just too many bills. I think 100 and something.
Oh, they're awful this year.
Oh,
114.
the
did you
difference.
sit on with them?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
So-
difference between my vision and your vision is that what would go to the education committee would be a bill that was ready to be introduced. And to get to there, then the commission would be the ones that would make the decision of, again, we'll go back to the funding. They would say, okay, we want to go in this direction. And those 5 individuals, would be the ones that would give us, you know, the rudder orders for that and say, yes, we want to be able to fund charter schools, building. Okay,
Again,
and then that would influence where the lawyers went.
Echoing Representative Murray, too much back and forth. Almost every decision you make has got to be discussed rather than saying, okay, here's the first 200 pages. Here's what we've come up with as the worst parts. What do you think? And then go on to the next few hundred pages and like that, rather than go back and forth every little change.
would it be amenable to have this one person produce the document and have your commission look at it at the end? When you made the comment about building aid for charter schools, yes or no, we already have laws about it. The question is which one? And this lawyer would come back to say, this is the current status of this particular part of education. And in that document that this lawyer or whoever would put together, that's where we would look to see, oh, I didn't know that this was the current law, or, you know, perhaps we all should have, but you've seen the book. And to make their recommendations from that, based on that, because it shouldn't be debatable. Either it's the RSA or it's not, and it's
it
looking
should-
to
that's
see
right,
what
it
is
should go
most,
back to an
what it is
RSA.
most,
But that's
most current, and what do we need to do with it? And it seems, you know, the commission can look at that at the end and then send it off to education. Also, you've got a lot of experts on education in the Senate and in the House, and a lot of the people I think that you're referring to would show up to testify.
But somebody has to do the work first.
You know,
That's right.
you know, we're making a mountain out of this molehill, okay?
You have.
That representative, that is not. And
Was a
when you're
simple
ready,
bill.
when you're ready to come back, right now, the Senate is going to recess. And when you're ready to speak civilly, we'll be back. Tell me when you are.
I am not going to agree to any part of the Senate bill.
Then what I just heard the chair say is that you are not willing to change, and the Senate position right now is that what you've put in front of us is unworkable, and we cannot agree.
So the bill dies.
The bill dies.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Did you feel strongly that it should pass?